The skies over Namek were thick with tension, the air crackling with energy as two warriors faced each other on the barren, rocky plains. Piccolo, his green skin glistening under the planet's twin suns, stood with his arms crossed, his crimson cape fluttering in the wind. Across from him, Nail, the strongest warrior of Namek, narrowed his eyes, sensing the gravity of the moment. "You've come a long way to find me," Nail said, his deep voice resonating with quiet confidence. "But merging with me won't be as simple as you think." Piccolo smirked, his white fangs glinting. "I didn't come here for a friendly chat. I need your power to stop Frieza. If we combine our strength, we might stand a chance." The wind howled between them as Nail clenched his fists, his aura flaring to life in a burst of emerald energy. "Prove to me you're worthy," he challenged. Without hesitation, Piccolo lunged forward, his fist encased in a swirling vortex of ki. Nail sidestepped with blinding speed, countering with a sweeping kick that sent Piccolo skidding backward. The ground shattered beneath his feet as he regained his footing, his muscles tensing. "Not bad," Piccolo admitted, wiping a trickle of blood from his lip. "But I'm just getting started." Their battle erupted in a flurry of motion, each strike sending shockwaves rippling through the landscape. Piccolo fired a volley of energy blasts, the golden orbs streaking toward Nail like comets. With a swift motion, Nail deflected them with his forearms, the explosions lighting up the sky. He retaliated with a sudden teleportation, appearing behind Piccolo and delivering a crushing elbow to his spine. Piccolo grunted but twisted midair, retaliating with a spinning backfist that grazed Nail's jaw. The Namekian warrior staggered but grinned. "You're strong. But not strong enough yet." Piccolo's eyes burned with determination as he raised his arms, his body glowing with an eerie light. "Then let's change that," he roared. His muscles bulged, veins throbbing as his power surged. The ground quaked beneath him, rocks levitating as his energy spiked. Nail's eyes widened. A transformation? Piccolo's aura erupted like a supernova, his power level skyrocketing past its previous limits. His turban and cape disintegrated, revealing his full battle form. "Now we fight as equals," Piccolo declared, his voice deeper, more resonant. Nail wasted no time, charging forward with a thunderous punch. Piccolo caught his fist, their energies clashing in a dazzling display of sparks. The force of their collision sent a shockwave that flattened the surrounding terrain. Nail gritted his teeth, his own aura flaring as he pushed back. "Impressive. But Frieza is beyond even this." Piccolo's grip tightened. "Then we'll go further." With a sudden burst, he twisted Nail's arm and drove a knee into his gut, sending him flying into a mountainside. The rocks crumbled as Nail emerged, dusting himself off. "Good. You're ready." The two warriors locked eyes, an unspoken understanding passing between them. The fate of Namek, and perhaps the universe, rested on their union. Nail extended his hand, his expression solemn. "Merge with me, Piccolo. Together, we'll surpass even Goku." Piccolo hesitated only for a moment before grasping Nail's forearm. A blinding light engulfed them, their bodies fusing into a single, unstoppable entity. Energy crackled around the new warrior as his power stabilized, 1,100,000. His eyes snapped open, burning with newfound strength. "Frieza won't know what hit him," he murmured, clenching his fist as the ground trembled beneath his might. The horizon darkened as the distant sound of battle echoed. Goku and Frieza were already clashing. The newly fused warrior, now a perfect blend of Piccolo's cunning and Nail's raw power, took to the skies. The final battle for Namek was about to reach its climax. The air crackled with energy as Piccolo and Nail stood back to back, their fused power radiating like a storm about to break. The battlefield was a wasteland of shattered rock and smoldering craters, remnants of their earlier clash with Frieza's forces. But the real fight was just beginning. Across from them, Frieza's tail flicked in amusement, his crimson eyes gleaming with sadistic curiosity. "1,000,000 power level? Impressive," he purred, flexing his claws. "But let's see how long that lasts." Before Piccolo could retort, the ground trembled violently. A massive energy blast erupted from the horizon, carving a fiery path toward them. Piccolo barely had time to raise a shield, the impact sending him skidding backward. Emerging from the smoke was a hulking figure, Cooler, Frieza's older brother, his mechanical form gleaming under the planet's twin suns. "You didn't think Frieza came alone, did you?" he sneered. Gohan, who had been recovering nearby, gasped. "Another one?" His fists clenched, but exhaustion weighed him down. Krillin, battered but still standing, gritted his teeth. "We're in trouble." Piccolo's mind raced. Cooler's arrival changed everything. Even with his newfound power, fighting both Frieza and Cooler at once was suicide. But retreat wasn't an option. not with Namek's survival at stake. Nail's voice echoed in his mind, steady and resolute. We adapt. We fight smarter. Frieza chuckled, floating lazily between them. Brother, why don't you handle the Namekian? I'll entertain the others. Cooler's mechanical tail whirred as he cracked his neck. With pleasure. Piccolo didn't wait. He lunged, fists wreathed in ki, aiming for Cooler's midsection. Cooler blocked with a forearm, the impact sending shockwaves through the air. Piccolo twisted mid-air, firing a point-blank Masenko. Cooler staggered but retaliated with a crushing knee to Piccolo's ribs, sending him crashing into a rock spire. Gohan saw his chance. Now, he yelled, charging alongside Krillin. They unleashed a flurry of ki blasts at Frieza, forcing him to weave through the barrage. Frieza's grin never faded. Cute. He vanished, reappearing behind Krillin, and drove an elbow into his spine. Krillin cried out, collapsing. Gohan roared, his aura flaring gold as he swung wildly. Frieza caught his fist effortlessly. You're not your father, boy. Meanwhile, Piccolo tore free from the rubble, his cloak in tatters. Cooler advanced, firing a barrage of energy discs. Piccolo dodged, using the terrain, leaping off crumbling pillars, redirecting Cooler's attacks into the ground to destabilize him. He feinted left, then pivoted, slamming a double-fisted hammer strike into Cooler's back. The tyrant grunted, skidding forward. But Cooler wasn't done. His mechanical parts whirred, deploying hidden blasters. A hail of energy bolts forced Piccolo into a desperate retreat. One grazed his shoulder, drawing blood. He hissed, then smirked. You rely too much on toys. Focusing his ki, Piccolo fired a concentrated beam, severing Cooler's mechanical arm. The limb exploded, sending Cooler reeling. The battle raged, each side trading brutal blows. But then, another tremor. The sky darkened as a massive ship descended, its shadow swallowing the battlefield. A familiar voice boomed from above. You've all been quite busy. Vegeta, battered but grinning, stood atop the ship's ramp, arms crossed. Took you long enough to need me. Gohan's eyes widened. Vegeta? But. Vegeta's smirk turned predatory. Oh, don't misunderstand. I'm not here to save you. His aura erupted, darker than before. I'm here to claim what's mine. The true stakes had just gotten higher. The air crackled with tension as Piccolo and Nail stood back to back, their fused power radiating like a storm about to break. The battlefield was littered with the wreckage of their previous clashes, the ground scorched and fissured from the sheer force of their blows. Across from them, Frieza hovered with a smirk, his tail flicking lazily, but his eyes betrayed a flicker of unease. 1,000,000 power level? Impressive, he mused, his voice dripping with condescension. But numbers alone won't save you. Piccolo clenched his fists, feeling Nail's consciousness merge seamlessly with his own. Their combined strength was staggering, yet something gnawed at him, a doubt. Frieza was too calm. Too confident. Before he could voice his concern, Frieza vanished, reappearing in a blur of motion. A fist slammed into Piccolo's gut, sending him skidding across the battlefield. Blood sprayed from his lips as he barely managed to block the next strike, his arms trembling under the force. Nail's voice echoed in his mind. He's toying with us. We need to push harder. Piccolo growled, channeling their energy into a devastating blast. Special beam cannon. The spiraling beam tore through the air, but Frieza dodged at the last second, laughing. Predictable, he sneered. Then, with a flick of his wrist, he unleashed a barrage of razor-sharp energy discs. Piccolo twisted mid-air, but one grazed his shoulder, drawing a sharp hiss of pain. Gohan, watching from a distance, clenched his teeth. We have to help him. Krillin grabbed his arm. We'd just get in the way. But Gohan's eyes burned with determination. There's gotta be something we can do. As Piccolo recovered, he noticed Frieza's stance shift, a subtle tightening of his muscles. Then, without warning, Frieza's form began to change. His body elongated, his armor cracking away as his power surged exponentially. You worms thought you stood a chance? Frieza's voice deepened, his aura flaring violently. This is my true form. Piccolo's blood ran cold. This was the real Frieza. The one who had wiped out entire civilizations. The one who had slaughtered Nail's people. And now, he was stronger than ever. Nail's voice was urgent. We can't win like this. There's only one option left. Piccolo's heart pounded. What are you saying? You have to absorb me completely. Not just merge, consume my essence. It's the only way to close the gap. Piccolo recoiled inwardly. No. There has to be another way. There isn't. If we don't do this, everyone dies. The weight of the decision crushed him. To lose Nail entirely, to erase another being's existence, was a line he'd never crossed. But Frieza was charging, his fist glowing with lethal energy. There was no time. With a roar of anguish, Piccolo made his choice. His body convulsed as Nail's essence dissolved into him, their fusion becoming absolute. Power unlike anything he'd ever known surged through his veins. His muscles bulged, his aura erupting in a maelstrom of green and white. Frieza paused, his smirk faltering. What is this? Piccolo's voice was a guttural growl. Your end. He lunged, his speed unmatched. Frieza barely raised his arms in time to block the punch, but the force sent him hurtling into a mountainside. The rock shattered on impact, dust billowing into the sky. Gohan gasped. He did it. But Krillin's face was grim. For how long? Piccolo pressed the attack, raining blows on Frieza with brutal precision. Yet, even as he gained the upper hand, he could feel the toll, the fusion was unstable. Nail's voice was fading, his presence slipping away. Finish it. Now. Piccolo reared back, gathering every ounce of energy. Hellzone grenade. Dozens of energy spheres materialized around Frieza, detonating in a chain reaction that lit up the sky. The explosion was deafening, the shockwave flattening the landscape for miles. As the smoke cleared, Frieza emerged, battered, bleeding, but far from defeated. His laughter was ragged but triumphant. You gave it your all. And still, it wasn't enough. Piccolo's legs buckled. The fusion was unraveling. He could feel Nail's consciousness dissipate, his final words a whisper. Protect them. Brother. Then, with a final, cruel smirk, Frieza raised his hand. A beam of pure destruction lanced toward Piccolo, and Gohan, standing helpless in its path. Piccolo's body moved before his mind could process. He threw himself in front of Gohan, the beam piercing his chest. Agony seared through him as he collapsed, his vision darkening. Gohan's scream tore through the battlefield. Piccolo. Frieza loomed over them, savoring their despair. How touching. But don't worry, you'll all join him soon. As Piccolo's consciousness faded, one thought burned in his mind. I failed. But then, from the depths of the planet's core, a familiar energy surged. A voice, long absent, roared across the battlefield. Kamehameha. A blinding blue wave of energy slammed into Frieza, sending him reeling. Gohan's tears blurred his vision as he turned, and there, battered but unbroken, stood Goku. His eyes burned with fury. You hurt my friends. Now. It's my turn. The tides of battle had shifted once more. The battlefield trembled as Piccolo and Nail stood side by side, their resolve unwavering. The air crackled with energy as the two Namekians prepared for the fusion that would push their power beyond anything they had ever known. This is it, Piccolo growled, his voice low and steady. Once we merge, there's no turning back. Nail nodded, his expression grim. For the sake of our people and Earth, we have no choice. Their hands clasped, and in an instant, their bodies dissolved into a swirling vortex of light. The fusion was complete, Piccolo's strength surged to unimaginable heights, his power level skyrocketing to 1,100,000. Across the battlefield, Frieza's cruel laughter echoed. Pathetic, he sneered, his tail flicking dismissively. No matter how much you power up, you're still just an insect to me. But Piccolo's eyes burned with newfound intensity. We'll see about that, he shot back before vanishing in a blur of speed. Frieza barely had time to react before Piccolo's fist connected with his jaw, sending him skidding backward. The tyrant's smirk faltered for the first time. The battle erupted into chaos. Piccolo moved with precision, his strikes calculated and brutal. He feinted left, then twisted midair to deliver a devastating knee to Frieza's ribs. The Namekian followed up with a rapid barrage of energy blasts, forcing Frieza to weave desperately through the explosions. You're faster than I expected, Frieza admitted, wiping a trickle of blood from his lip. But speed alone won't save you. With a sudden burst of his own, Frieza retaliated, his tail whipping around to slam Piccolo into the ground. The impact cratered the earth, but Piccolo rolled to his feet, his muscles coiling for another assault. Goku watched from the sidelines, his body still recovering from earlier injuries. Piccolo's holding his own, he muttered, clenching his fists. But Frieza's still holding back. Krillin's voice was tense. We have to do something. If Piccolo falls, we're all dead. Goku's eyes narrowed. Not yet. He's got this. Back in the fray, Piccolo pushed himself harder, his aura flaring violently. He charged Frieza again, this time aiming for a crippling blow to the tyrant's midsection. Frieza blocked, but Piccolo twisted his wrist, redirecting the energy into a point-blank blast that sent Frieza reeling. The Namekian didn't let up, he grabbed Frieza by the throat and hurled him into a mountainside. Rocks shattered as Frieza crashed through the stone, but he emerged seconds later, his golden eyes gleaming with fury. Enough of this, he roared, his power surging. The sky darkened as Frieza unleashed his full might, his aura expanding like a supernova. Piccolo braced himself, gritting his teeth against the overwhelming pressure. "You're strong, Namekian," Frieza hissed. "But you're still not strong enough." With a flick of his wrist, he fired a deadly beam straight at Piccolo's chest. The Namekian barely dodged, the energy grazing his shoulder and drawing blood. Piccolo refused to yield. He channeled his energy into his hands, forming a massive energy sphere. "Special beam cannon," he roared, hurling the attack with all his might. Frieza's eyes widened as the beam streaked toward him. He raised a hand to deflect it, but the force sent him crashing into the ground, smoke rising from his scorched armor. For a moment, the battlefield fell silent. Then, Frieza's laughter returned, colder than ever. "Impressive," he admitted, rising slowly. "But you've exhausted yourself." Piccolo panted heavily, his body aching from the strain. He knew Frieza was right, his energy was draining fast. But he couldn't stop now. With a final, desperate roar, Piccolo lunged forward, his fist glowing with concentrated energy. Frieza met him head-on, their fists colliding in a shockwave that split the earth beneath them. The clash was titanic, each warrior pushing beyond their limits. But as the dust settled, Frieza stood victorious, his hand buried in Piccolo's chest. Goku's scream tore through the air. "Piccolo!" The Saiyan's body erupted in golden light as his rage unlocked a power he had never known. The battle was far from over, and the true climax was yet to come. The air crackled with energy as Piccolo and Nail stood side by side, their bodies glowing with an eerie green light. The fusion was complete, their combined power surged to an unprecedented 1,100,000, eclipsing even Goku's might. Across the battlefield, Frieza sneered, his tail flicking in irritation. "Pathetic. No matter how strong you become, you'll never surpass me." Piccolo's eyes narrowed, his voice a low growl. "We'll see about that." The ground shattered as Piccolo launched forward, his fists a blur. Frieza barely had time to react before a devastating uppercut sent him hurtling skyward. Piccolo pursued, his movements a whirlwind of precision and fury. Each strike carried the weight of two warriors' resolve, Nail's unyielding discipline and Piccolo's ruthless cunning. Frieza blocked frantically, but the sheer force of the blows sent shockwaves through his arms. "Impossible," he spat, blood trickling from his lip. Piccolo didn't let up. He twisted mid-air, delivering a spinning kick that sent Frieza crashing into the earth. The tyrant skidded across the battlefield, his armor cracked, his pride wounded. He staggered to his feet, his breathing ragged. "You'll pay for this." Frieza's body flared with violet energy as he unleashed a barrage of death beams. Piccolo dodged with inhuman speed, but one grazed his shoulder, drawing blood. He gritted his teeth, pain was nothing compared to the stakes. With a roar, Piccolo countered, thrusting his palms forward. Special beam cannon. The spiraling energy blast tore through the air, faster than Frieza anticipated. It pierced his side, eliciting a scream of agony. Frieza clutched the wound, his eyes wide with disbelief. You dare." His fury ignited, his body transforming into his final form, his power skyrocketing. The ground trembled as he lunged, his fist connecting with Piccolo's gut. The Namekian coughed blood, but his grip on Frieza's wrist was ironclad. "You're not the only one who can push beyond limits," Piccolo snarled. The clash that followed was cataclysmic. Frieza's speed matched Piccolo's, their fists colliding like meteors. Each impact sent shockwaves rippling across the planet, splitting the earth beneath them. Goku, watching from a distance, clenched his fists. Piccolo. He wanted to help, but this was Piccolo's fight, his chance to prove that even a warrior forged in darkness could rise to protect others. Frieza, sensing desperation, reared back and unleashed a planet-crushing energy sphere. "Die with this wretched world." Piccolo's eyes widened, there was no dodging this. But then, a voice echoed in his mind. "Nail." The answer came instantly. Piccolo crossed his arms, channeling every ounce of his power into a single, defiant blast. The two energies collided, creating a blinding explosion that swallowed the sky. When the smoke cleared, Piccolo stood battered but unbroken. Frieza, however, was on his knees, his body smoking, his strength waning. "No. This can't be." Piccolo loomed over him, his voice cold. "It's over." With one final strike, he drove his fist through Frieza's chest, The tyrant's scream silenced forever. The battlefield fell still. The others rushed to Piccolo's side, their faces a mix of awe and relief. Goku placed a hand on his shoulder. "You did it." Piccolo exhaled, the weight of the battle finally hitting him. "We did it," he corrected, acknowledging Nail's spirit within him. The aftermath was profound. With Frieza gone, the universe breathed easier. The Namekians, once on the brink of extinction, could rebuild. And for Piccolo, the fusion had changed him, not just in power, but in purpose. No longer just a warrior, he was now a guardian. As the sun set over the scarred battlefield, Goku grinned. "Guess I'll have to train harder to catch up." Piccolo smirked. "Good luck with that." The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear: the balance of power had shifted, and the bonds forged in battle would shape the universe for years to come.